how long did it take you to transition from, basically boyhood to manhood, just psychologically?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say that it was probably a period of about 2 years that once I really started to focus on that. I mean, some of it was happening already as I was unlocking some of the things with like kind of Tony Robbins and personal development, right? But I started really reading a lot of literature on it because there wasn't much. There's not a lot of literature on it. Kind of the best literature, I would say, a friend of mine, Jack Donovan, he has a book called The Way of Men. Highly recommend that book. There's another book by Rollo Tomasi called I just forgot that name.
The rational male.
Yeah, Rational Male. And then there's Iron John. That's more of like an interpretation of a fairy tale that has mythological. Think Joseph Campbell type of content, but really good. And then I'm trying to think what else. Oh, David Data, The Way of the Superior Man, is actually really good as well. Highly, highly recommend that book, especially for dealing with relationships, right? And understanding the masculinity in a relationship. And I think kind of Tony Robbins kind of started going me down this path, because I remember on the last day of the Date with Destiny seminar, he had, this was one of the things that clicked in my head. He had all the men like stand up in the room because he did like a masculine and feminine and yell like just this war cry. And the women just like reacted with unconscious, like they couldn't help themselves. They were like going crazy. So I was like, there's something to this masculine force. And it's like, I don't feel like I really have it. And so I really started exploring that. And I had a lot of fear and things in my life. And so what ended up happening actually, in what I teach guys today about how, that transition of becoming a man, was that I sort of discovered two main things that were required in order to become a man today. And it's the same thing. Like if you look at our history of people, we used to have tribal rituals. We used to have initiation rites for manhood, right? And what you'll see is that these things kind of mirror the 2 points that I'm going to give you here. So the big thing that I discovered is one thing. In order to become a man, you must kill your father, metaphorically, right? What this means is that you must dismiss the value systems of your father. It means that you must assume the king role, right? Because you have to get rid of the judgment and the idea that your value comes from the value that your father assigns you, right? Because as we're children, as we're young, right, the father is the man, the king of the house. It's his tribe, and you are valued in that tribe based on his value system. And so as a boy becomes a man, he must overthrow his father. He must say, I reject your value system. I am my own king now, and I have my own value system, and I don't rely on your judgment. I don't need your approval. I rely on my own judgment, my own approval. I say what things are good and what things are bad, not you. And that's hard. It's hard to do. And when I did this, I had a breakaway from my own father for about 2 years where he wouldn't even talk to me, right? I didn't allow anyone to put guilt on me. I said, no, I make my own decisions and I make them because I want to. I don't do anything out of obligation anymore. Anything that I do it out of my own free will. And that was part of it. So that's step one, I think, is like I said, metaphorically killing your father. And then the second one is really has to do with facing the demons of fear and your own mortality, right? Which is that you would get to a point in life where you decide to accept full responsibility and full consequences for your actions. Right. So what that means is to stop living a fearful life and to say, I'm going to live my life how I choose and do what I want and accept whatever consequences may come. And that is a scary thing to do, right? To go out there and say, because we're always trying to live under some protection, right? Again, a lot of it's the protection of our father, but some kind of protection of the world or some kind of escape from our consequences, or we play it safe. We build these fortresses around us. We try to build security, right? And instead it's to say, you know what? I'm going to go out there. I'm going to take my shot. If I die, I die. right? And I realized I was living my life a lot in fear, and a lot of things I was doing were based out of fear. And the reason why it's so important, because a man must have courage. Courage is essential to manhood, and to have your own value system and to make your own judgment calls. Like, the biggest thing that defines a man, in my opinion, is having trusting your own judgment above any other thing. And so much of us and so much of the world relies on us accepting other people's judgment systems, right? We value ourselves based on what other people think of us, not what we think of ourselves. And it puts us in a bad place. So I had to go through that whole kind of process. And I say it took about 2 years, and kind of facing those demons and dealing with those things. And then, coming out the other end. You can even see it in my YouTube videos, right? Like, it's like, if you go back to my earliest videos on the YouTube channel, you can see the John that had the high pitched squeaky voice. I can't even impersonate it now, but I had this really high pitched voice. I lacked confidence to a large degree. It was a total different presence than the presence that I have now. And and that was like 5 years ago? So you can see, visibly, not just from a physical standpoint, but from the manifestations and the entire personality and my voice and tonality and all of those things, that transformation of going from boy to man.